Welcome to Don't Chuck It Up, the podcast where we help students and families navigate the wild journey of the college search and applying to colleges without breaking a sweat. I'm your host, Chuck, and today I'd like to talk about information accuracy and share a little advice with some parents in particular that are listening out there. And I've invited a friend to join me today. Lee Norwood is a fellow independent educational consultant, the founder of College Sharks, and a peer mentor for the Counsel More software that is used by independent educational consultants. Lee, thank you for coming on the show. Welcome.
I am so excited to be here. And like you said, without breaking a sweat, I just came back from breaking a sweat in Pilates class in the high 90s. I keep wondering why I go in there to sweat like that, but you'll see that my energy gets turned on when I move my body and get my blood flowing. So
I was going to say, you've got your body engaged, so then now let's get that incredible mind of yours going.
Let's try.
We were talking a while back about how rumor mill that happens amongst parents and all the information that's going on. And it's fall, so, parents are back into the school mode and they're hanging out either before school or after school or with each other while their kids are at school, and they're talking. So what the heck is going on with parents and information about college? And that's what I'd like to talk about today. Before we dive into that, why don't you share a little bit of information about yourself and introduce yourself to my listeners?
Well, hey, everybody. Chuck and I are both independent college consultants. And what does that mean? It means that we really help families navigate this college process that is not your college process. This is not the 80s or the 90s. Things change and they change daily. The COVID threw us a few curveballs. So we're experts in kind of understanding what colleges are looking for while they craft their classes. So I love this. I spent 23 years in pharmaceutical sales. I hated every day of it, except that it did let me go to all my kids' games. And it did let me, make those family dinners. So that was cool. But at those kids' games, I heard a lot of parent BS on the sidelines. And then I shifted to becoming a college consultant, and I still hear parent BS, but now I have the data. I'm a data-driven college consultant. The data is all out there, but where do you get your sources from? And I really like helping people level set, take their personality out of this process and say, here is the data about where you want to go and what you want to do. Nothing personal, but do you fit in this mold? And I think it's a really unique way to kind of help families. So I love it. I can't meet with that many kids because I kind of don't have a dimmer switch. I'm on or off. So in order to duplicate myself, I started College Sharks, which is an online virtual college consulting platform and way more affordable for the masses to kind of understand what they need to do, when they need to do it, why it's important, and kind of keeping up with that college thing. So that's where I am. But my passion project right now is BS from the parent sideline. And I have a TikTok account called @CollegeSharks, where I dispel the myths from the parents whose kids' SAT scores seem to go up by 175 points just in the middle of a lacrosse game.
Oh, yeah, exactly. From the start of the game to the end of the game. And
yeah.
It's great having you here, Lee, and that's exactly why I wanted to have you on the show, is we need to talk about the parent BS that happens, the ones that say, well, my nephew got a full ride scholarship plus $10,000 on top of that to some random college that I had never heard of. And I was just like, I think that's BS. And you are much better than I am. Maybe it is your Southern charm to help them understand that that is complete BS. I have a hard time with my Midwestern niceness to confront it, but that's why I wanted you on the show, so we can talk about what is up with all this BS that parents are sharing with each other. What are your thoughts?
Well, Chuck, bless your heart. So my first rumor, okay, first of all, let's just talk about how we gain our knowledge. We gain our knowledge through experience. We get good at things because we practice. How do you make a perfect free throw in basketball? Well, you practice at school and then you go home and you shoot hoops in your driveway. So that's what you and I are doing with the college process all the time. When we find that leader in our social circle who hosts the wine and cheese parties, or kid is the top, goalie on the soccer team, and we find that we feel like they have such good information. They've had one or two kids go through the process, probably
Right.
4 years apart. So that's a big gap in what changes. And if they hold that social status, they're often full of shit because they're bragging in a way. And my first rumor I heard from somebody, and if she's listening, I'm calling you on it right now. It was 6 years ago. I am not paying for those AP tests. It's a scam. It's a way for College Board to make money. And my kids who are going to X, Y, and Z, and I will tell you, they got into some highly selective universities, really smart family, dedicated, like awesome family. But she said that on Facebook and has all these followers. And I thought, that's the worst advice I've ever heard. They teach to the test all year. The
Mhm.
test is what, maybe $90? That's expensive for some and not for others. But if it turns into 3 college credits, you do the math. $90, your kid gets a 4 or a 5, you test it out and got 3 credits and you're not in English 101.
Right.
Ask your financial advisor if that's a good thing or not. And I thought, wow, I want to wring your neck on Facebook because people look up at you. They look up to your kids. You've got this beautiful presentation of a family and you just gave out misinformation.
Mhm.
So let's dispel that myth. If you're going to sit through an AP class all year, take the test. They've been teaching it to you all year. And I disagree with one of your guests who I actually also talk to all the time, but I see her point of view, and that's Margaret Rothy. I say take the AP because the college knows exactly what you learned in that class. So when you get a 4 or a 5, we know the knowledge you brought to the table from Calc AB. If you take a random dual enrollment class at a college, they might not know what their intro to funky calculus math, sometimes on Tuesdays, is teaching you. So they may not say that class, we have an articulation agreement and that's worth 3 credits. So the
Yes.
knowledge that college has from an AP class is standard across the country. And that kind of level sets you because every school's a little bit different, but we know the curriculum. Now, Margaret will tell you there's also kids that can, get an AA degree before they even graduate from high school. And what a great thing that is. So
Yeah, and
there's two sides to every story.
there is, and I think it also you raise some great points, and also parents and families need to be aware that there are colleges out there that don't take AP exam scores at all. So you have to be careful and make sure the vast majority do. And especially if you're a family that's looking at a public institution, especially a regional public institution, you could bank a lot of credits through the AP program. The other thing that I'm jealous of is that when we were kids, not to date ourselves, but we didn't have access to this thing called the internet with videos. You know, College Board and Advanced Placement AP has a whole video series on YouTube for almost all of their classes right now, especially the ones that have been around for a while, like Calc AB or Psych or English Lang or English Lit. If your teacher is struggling to teach the information in school, you basically have a second teacher online. These are the master instructors who wrote the exam, and you could get the help that you need right through YouTube. I am so jealous about this. It's not even funny. I was like, I would have done a whole lot better in some of these classes had I had a YouTube to just kind of reinforce things, if I wasn't paying attention at my 8 a.m. Physics class in high
Oh,
school. It would have
that's
been
a
nice to
tough
have a
one.
YouTube. Yeah, it was rough.
It's
Um,
true. I mean, the resources are out there. Another resource that's often missed by parents, and this is a little off topic, but please go look at your high school's website. There's a lot of your answers are on your high school's website, but I bet you haven't looked at it in a long time because it's just the school your kids went to after the middle school if you're in that public situation. They often have a lot of great resources. I remember my father saying to me once, there's a kid down the street, they have a 4.6 Squirt. That's my nickname. Squirt, how the heck does somebody get a 4.6? Well, I'm probably older than you. I couldn't get a 4.6. I was in gifted and talented, but I couldn't get a 4.6, but I'm interested in your feedback here because you're on the parent sidelines and the bragging. Ricky and Jacqueline have 4.6s. What does your student have? Well, my kid goes to the private school down the street and they scrapped the entire AP program. So, is my kid's 3.8 a crappy GPA? No, the colleges are going to look at your school profile, and that private curriculum might be absolutely stellar, interesting classes. They just aren't falling in line with that standardized across the country testing. So that's another crap from the parents' sideline, the bragging of the high GPA, when I think you and I know that's for class rank and bragging rights. I mean, this college is most likely going to look at your unweighted because they care more about what classes you took.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I don't know how we can help parents understand that, is that they oftentimes give me the weighted GPA or all these things, and a lot of colleges recalculate the GPA into an unweighted sense, and they also take away some of the classes that are those easy A's. The kids that get the A's in Phi Ed and lifting and all those things, like colleges will just look at the core classes many times, and therefore the GPA isn't even relevant. So it also really depends upon the colleges as to what they're looking for. So it's really hard to say, oh, my kid has XYZ GPA and got automatically into XYZ college, because it is really situational based off of what high school did you go to, what classes have you taken, what college are you actually applying to. So it's hard to make a generalization across everything. You and I can give some basic information to help parents understand across colleges and universities, but everything is very personalized, which is why our jobs exist, is to really make sure that parents and families are getting personalized advice and support through this college search and application process.
100%. And that's another one of the BS from the sidelines. Whether your sideline's a sport, a piano recital, I
Right.
don't just for sports. I think academia is a great extracurricular. But when you're sitting there, and it is just not fair. My husband and I are both alumni of University of XYZ, and our student has the same test score and a much higher GPA than student A. It's not fair that they got in and my student didn't. So I'm never donating to my university again. All right. Well, if it was University of Maryland and you're looking at engineering and the other student went, well, that's not a good example because they just let you into the college first, but they have limited major. But, what are you talking about? Are you trying to go, general studies, liberal arts, undecided, exploratory major at NC State? Or are you trying to go straight into their top-notch engineering program? Two completely different measurements there. And student A might only have gotten through Algebra 2, and your kid's taking integrative equations. So you can't compare their GPAs. You just can't. So I really caution anybody who's listening to this is your goal. Have a happy kid who's invested in the process. Make sure they understand why they even want to go to college, because it's not for everyone. I'm a Marine mom. My son did not want to go, and that's cool. He's serving our country. Welcome. But don't let anybody bring you down about your student, because if you have a good relationship with them, open communication, and they're putting their best foot forward, you're winning in the game of life. Don't let that braggadocious person who's saying those things skew you. And they may not be coming from a place of yuckiness.
Right.
They are proud of their kid. But I think, and you caught me on this earlier in our pre-talk, we have to seek first to understand, because I came on today really mad at a private school with one of my kids goes to, and you were like, did you seek first to understand if that's what they heard or that's what really was said? And I'm like, ooh, that's another good one for the rumor mill. You got to seek first to understand the source and the information.
Yeah, and that's really, and I think you bring up again some really excellent things that parents need to remember. Every year is different. So what happened to a kid at if your friend's nieces, nephew, uncles, cousins, whatever, got into XYZ college 2-3 years ago, so now you want your kid to apply to XYZ college, it may not work. And that's where people like Lee and I can really help you understand what's happening, because the admissions process is changing all the time. And also, kids will come home and they'll say, my high school counselor said this, so we have to do this. I always say check with the high school counselor to make sure that really is what they said, because teenagers don't always listen. Aren't we aware of that, parents? And double check that information. Even when I'll have families that go to a college visit and they'll say, well, the admissions counselor said that you need this type of application to get into their business program or their engineering program. I said, did you hear that correctly? Or let's double check on the website before we go down that path. Don't
100%.
assume, as my English teacher in high school taught me a million years ago, don't assume because it makes an ass out of you and me.
Yeah.
Uh, Always double check your facts and information. So it's really important that way. And I really just wish, and I don't think this is possible, but this is my absolute dream. Parents and students, stop posting your college search application list and stats and everything until after everything is done. Oh, we're going to go visit these 5 colleges. Oh, we're applying to these 6 schools. Oh, he's already submitted his applications. Oh, he's already doing this. You're causing a lot of the stress that's happening and going, parents, I understand you'd go to the online for advice, but if it's your own kid and your own kid's process, don't share where they're applying yet. Save that till after it's done when you can celebrate and say, hey, my kid has decided they're going to ABC college and we're really thrilled for them and they're really found the place that fit them academically, socially, and financially. And I couldn't be more proud, whether that's a community college, a 4-year, public, private. I don't care. I really don't care as to, I mean, I do care. I want them to be happy, but I'm not looking for colleges, or for parents to find an absolute status symbol. I want to find the right fit. Kids are happy if it's the right fit. And if you're trying to pound a square peg into a round hole and make them go to a place that doesn't fit them, your kid is going to come home at Thanksgiving and want to transfer or drop out of college. And then that's even more of an issue that you have to deal with later. By the way, I have been a transfer counselor. I can help in that scenario. So it really just frustrates me that people have to be so public about it on social media. I'm like, keep it inside. Like, don't share, like, share
Yeah.
with your bestie, but no farther than that. Like, don't put it
Right.
all over social media, because that's when the rumor mills happen and all the chaos happens.
Because when you're very special, extremely bright student stands in line at a school like Vanderbilt. I have on a Vanderbilt shirt. I went to Elon College. It's now Elon University. It was the best 4 years of my life. I got a job before I got out of school. I worked in Research Triangle Park. I made more money than all of my friends because I was in medical sales. Like, small school that was the answer on the New York Times Sunday hardest crossword puzzle for most of my life. My parents were like, where, what, who? It was my fit. Probably because I got invited to a party while I was there doing the tour. But I digress. I became an RA. I got a lot of money. I pretty much paid for my college. But I've got people who want to go to Vanderbilt. If I was standing in line at Vanderbilt, I would look very average because everyone standing in line has near top test scores, classes, levels of activity. So now I'm a mere mortal trying to go to this school. And then let's say I get in and then they tell me it's $98,000 a year and I want to go to med school. In the position that I'm in now, I would tell that student, go to UMBC, get your tuition covered because you rocked it. So I'm from Maryland and North Carolina. So UMBC is University of Maryland, Baltimore campus. Go there. You'll probably get your tuition covered. Full rides don't happen unless you play football, basketball, or you're in an anomaly of a presidential. So for those of you who say, well, my kid got one, it's a bell curve. I'm talking about the middle of the bell curve. They're going to go there, spend very little, their room and board. They'll probably do research with a professor, and they can come back and go to Vandy Medical School. But if they go to Hopkins undergrad, they're going to have much more competition. They're not going to get the research because they're going to be taught by a lot of TAs. I love Johns Hopkins, but I know a lot about it. It's in my back door. They took 4 or 6 of their own undergrad students into their med program. Like, you got to play the long game. So yes. I would rather brag that I'm paying $8,000 a year for my student to go to UMBC. They graduate at the top of their class and they get a huge scholarship to go to Hopkins or Vandy for med school. That is where I think you and I bring perspective
Yes.
to that game of, and also what about when that parent sees that $98,000 price tag and goes, oh shit, we aren't paying for that. Now you've got a kid who's miserable. They've written 20 essays. They've banked on this. They've told all their friends. They've bought the t-shirt. How do they say we can't go? My parents can't afford it. That's like, ooh. So I don't know. That was a lot of advice. Clearly I'm
Well,
emotional about this.
I think what this comes down to is that many parents, because they're in the moment of high school and getting their kids through high school and getting into the college, are playing more of a game of checkers. They're trying to do the small movements that are very easy. And
100%.
okay, how can I get into that? And, oh, that school looks really good. I'm very aware of this. I was chatting with the family yesterday that is not American. And so they're like, well, here are the colleges that we have to apply to because these are the only ones that we have ever heard of. And both you and I went to colleges that most people have never heard of, especially in our time. They were not popular type places. Yours has become more popular than mine. But I was trying to tell the families, like, okay, what is the long game? And the kid really wants to go, as you said, to medical school. And I said, why are you spending 85, 90, $100,000 per year
Yes.
on some of these colleges where medical school funding is very, very limited. It's very hard to get, scholarships for any type of medical program. Bank that money and play chess rather than checkers and think about, okay, you're going to have to take out some, small pawns to be able to get to the queen or the king. So that means you might want to look at the most affordable place that is going to give you the small class sizes, that's going to give you the research opportunities, the engagement, the leadership capability. I went to a very small college and I had lots of leadership opportunities because
Me
I was
too.
at a very small college. And I have much more close friends networks because I went to a very small school. I went to a
Right.
very large school for my master's, and I have few and far between connections there because just of the size. And I'm really trying to get the problem is parents are so focused on the prestige and they want to be able to put the bumper sticker on the back of their car or wear the sweatshirt that says that I am a Harvard dad or I am a Yale dad or I'm a Rice mom, and I don't know how to help parents and students understand that like 20, 30 years from now, most people are not going to care where you did your undergrad at. They are going to care what was your life path after. Where did you go to grad school? Did you go to med school, law school, whatever it may be? They're going to care more about the end game. And chess, it's all about getting checkmate. You have to take out some pawns first in order to get checkmate.
Right.
Checkers, it's all about one for one type thing. And I'm like, then you eventually run out of chips. So what are we playing here? Is it checkers or is it chess?
It should be chess. I think we're on the same level when we talk about this. And we also talk about prestige, right? So I think prestige, of course, it's national when we watch Elle Woods and we hear about the Ivies. Here, short tip, the Ivies are a sports league that's in the northeast of the US. Um, so let's just call it highly selective. We could throw some more schools for that. Um, so if you've seen it because Elwood's looked at it, maybe your family went there. It's a name that's in magazines and stuff. But prestige then becomes regional because I didn't know about Grinnell. I live on the East Coast. There are kids that are clawing to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even really, I wasn't dialed in to Bowdoin and Bates
Yeah,
until I went. And I thought, whoa, it's too bad I didn't see these bad boys when I was doing my tour because those are Swarthmore, highly
right.
prestigious school that I bet if we asked 100 families, 22 might know and have heard of it. So I think opening your mind, I'll never forget, I'm going to digress. So my neighbor, they've gone to every birthday party from kindergarten all the way through every first day of school picture together. In fact, she just sent me like all of them because, they're all out of college now. Tight friends. I said, where's your daughter going? And she said, Eckerd. Where?
Oh, yay.
She said, Eckerd. I'm like, ugh, whatever. I had no idea. I wasn't really in this business yet. And even when I was in the business, a minute to learn Eckerd. The kid is a marine biologist. The kid went to school, started doing research on horseshoe crabs and the blood from horseshoe crabs, which are like diamond, worth gold. And then I went to Eckerd on a tour, and I actually had this kid come and talk to 35 of us that were on the Florida tour for this D2 school. Man, she's created an incredible life for herself. And I'm in the business, and I didn't even understand. So you went, oh, about Eckerd. Do you love Eckerd?
Okay, so I went on, so there's a tour called the Florida Sunshine Tour where
I did that.
college
That's how
counselors,
I met them.
yes. But I've known Eckerd for a very long time.
Okay.
So Eckerd is part of the colleges that change lives, a small group of schools that really are not well known, that are not popular, that most people have never heard of. They are not household names, but they are places that really take a kid from being decent to a kid who is absolutely ready to hit the world and hit the ground running. And
100%.
so I had a student years ago who was brilliant young woman, absolutely brilliant. The goal was to get a PhD in something like biochemistry or chemistry. And she's like, I'm currently based in Wisconsin. And so I have a lot of kids that want to get out of the cold. And she explained to me what she would like. And she's like, well, I really have always dreamt about going to college on the beach, but I bet there are no colleges on the beach and that are small that would help me get research, that would really help me enjoy my college life and help me really do all these things. And I said, I have one. And I said, you need to go check out this place called Eckerd. And she was like, what? Where? And I talked a little bit about her. Lo and behold, her grandparents live like 5 miles from campus, maybe 10 miles from campus.
Which makes sense in Florida in the St.
Right,
Pete area.
right, right. So she had driven by this campus numerous times and didn't realize that it was there. And I said, well, the next time you're going to go see your grandparents, you are now going to have a reason to take a detour and go visit the college. And she literally texted me from the campus like, this is exactly what I was thinking of. Like,
Isn't
why
that the
did I know
best
this
thing?
was here? She's like, this was near my grandparents' house this entire time, and I didn't even realize this. And once I saw it, I was like, this is what was in my brain. This is what I was hoping to go to. She went there. She's great. She's now a PhD student at the University of Iowa on a very prestigious academic program. So everything worked out really, really well. But it's one of those colleges that, again, when families think of Florida, they think University of Florida, Florida State, University of Miami, very popular names. And I said, you need to look beyond the popular names that you have seen on ESPN or in your local sporting goods store and find these places that are real amazing institutions that, sure, they're not popular as far as household names, but man, they could make a difference for your life and for your kids' life.
And I think almost every school on that Florida Sunshine Tour blew my mind. I have sent more wannabe engineers to Florida Institute of Technology.
Yeah, Florida
And
Tech.
the honors program and the amount of merit aid, they are on the Space Coast. Their projects are funded by Boeing and like huge companies, but they have like an art twist too. So yeah, you're going to be cheering at lacrosse games, but that's so fun to watch anyway. I don't think I missed big game day because I didn't know what it was. My daughter ended up at NC State, so now I am a Wolfpack fan, which is just a sad thing to be
Yep.
sometimes football season. But I don't know if missing big game day really changed my life that much. I enjoyed the games that Elon played. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I had an incredibly great time. And I think, we got a big push here on the East Coast for everybody to go SEC. Well, guess what? That just is making SEC more competitive. It's driving the rates of admission down. They're taking the same number of kids. It's just more kids are now applying because they think they want big game day. And then we got Belichick and, Chapel Thrill and all this stuff. UConn exploded in popularity with one basketball championship. Boom, it's harder to get in. So I think we really need to recalculate back. And maybe, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think the college visit is a game changer.
Yes. So what I am noticing is that families are not visiting colleges as much, and they're really going off of social media to get the impression. And of
Mhm.
course, algorithms and how your social media plays out is it's only going to show you really positive videos of a place. And so you're going to be like, oh man, everyone is excited to be at this really big brand name college. And then I've had students go and visit and they're like, I didn't think it was that great. Where was, and I was like, well, yeah, because all of the videos were made on move-in day or on game day or when everyone's super all pumped up. So families do need to think about making a visit. I'm not saying you need to hop on a plane and fly across the country and visit some of the
No.
places. Do some of that virtually, but look into your calendar and plan ahead. Are you going on a vacation? Are you going on a trip? Do you have some time off? Can you fit in a actual college visit? Kids need to walk the walk and talk the talk. They need to get on the college campus and feel it and
Yep.
smell it and sense it to really get a sense. Because we're seeing lots of videos as it is the second or third week of school for many colleges. Kids are like, I'm homesick. I didn't realize the college was going to be like this. I was unsure, and they're like, okay, what do I do?
Well, I was just sending you like a Spock signal. It's called the W curve. We should
Yep.
talk about it another time. It's a psychological phenomenon. They're excited, they hit it, and they're like, oh crap. I got to do my laundry. My hair's long. I don't know if I love my roommate. When you met your roommate online, they were your soul sister. Now you're living with her. Then they come back for Thanksgiving and they have a little bit of a peak because everybody's pumped up about their school and blah, blah, blah. Then they go back and go, oh crap, where am I? And then right before the end of the year, they usually come out of it. But I'm a parent that in the middle of that bump, I'm not even I'm not even a helicopter parent. I'm like a snowplow parent. I like cleared it all out of the way. I got my daughter a room at an apartment at University of Maryland. We were going to transfer sophomore year, which is tough to do. I was making it happen for her. And right after I paid the deposit on that room, she came out of the W curve and was like, oh, I really do love NC State. It was just hard for me because I was from Maryland and most people were from North Carolina. So I think I'm going to stay. Well, what am I going to do? Move into the standard at University of Maryland and live in this bougie apartment? Anyway, I sublet it, but I think a lot of things that we bring to the table also are the mistakes that we've made as parents because we got too involved and we didn't take that time to look at what is the W curve? How do we help them out of it? How do we listen and not tell them because we don't live there? That sounds like it's really hard for you. Tell me more about that. Um, so
No,
all
a
the
lot of
parents get
parents.
bragged over here. Talk to them right after Thanksgiving and see how their kid is, and see if they're going to tell you the truth because it's an emotional roller coaster for everybody. So, again, I think earmuffs on the sidelines is a good thing.
So lots of great information. I 100% agree with everything that you said. It's like, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what else do parents need to know right now? I think this is a marathon, not a sprint.
100%.
Everyone eventually will cross the finish line. Right now, the girls are leading the boys, but that's typical for the fall. But everyone will get there. And the finish line is different for every kid. It could be going right into the workforce. It could be going into the military. It could be taking a gap year and spending time with themselves to understand who they are and what they want to be later in life. There is no correct answer that's like every kid has to do this. No, the correct answer is what is working best for you, your child, academically, socially, and financially, because this is a long path to life and you need to take yourself out of the social pressure of, well, so and so has this test score and so has this GPA and they're applying here and they're going to visit here. Like, you can do your
It
own
doesn't
thing.
matter. Do your own
Yeah.
thing. But do take the testing seriously. I do know that some kids have learning differences. I do know that some kids are really bad test takers. But I think for the most part, we don't teach kids how to take standardized tests. So it is a weird thing. Your kids should take the PSAT and don't tell me they already took it in 10th grade, so they don't need to take it again. They're all benchmarks. The one that we really want to play off is 11th grade. They aren't going to get a good math score unless they're halfway through Algebra 2. So just know what you're looking at and then go online and use those free resources. The best way to do better is to practice. The practice tests are free. But understand that when your student comes home from school and tells you that you don't have to take the PSAT, they're right. but you're not going to listen to that. They're going to take it, and then they're going to try to take the official test, and we can decide later. I just didn't want to end before saying this because that is a rumor from the sideline. I do think that that's a muscle that kids need to flex and need to try to strengthen. And then after that, if they do have a learning difference or they really aren't good at it, there are test optional schools out there, but testing's coming back. And if you want to be the most competitive you possibly can, close out the noise, take the classes that challenge you, understand why you want to go to college, visit all the schools within an hour of your home so your kid actually has real opinions on what makes them happy and not happy. And just look at that parent whose kid got a full ride plus $10,000. And if they're not wearing a jersey with their name on the back of it, just say, bless your heart.
That's excellent advice, Lee. And this is an area where Lee and I have a little bit of a difference of opinion. I agree that more colleges are requiring testing. I also very much agree that, like learning a sport or learning how to play a musical instrument, taking tests does take some practice, and you can't just knock it out in one shot. Those parents that say that, oh, my kid got a 35 and they only took it once, I'm going to call BS, because they've been practicing behind the scenes. Yeah, exactly. It's like not true at all. But I also want to reassure students and families that there are a wide range of test scores that are acceptable. You don't need to have a top level. You don't need a 1600 or a 36 in order to go to a great college. And also, there are lots of colleges that don't give a flying hoot about the test scores.
Exactly.
And they're all wonderful, amazing places. So yes, take the test seriously, but don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to get the best score or else I'm cooked. Because
It
no, it's
doesn't
not true.
define you. And, you're Midwestern, you're going to talk ACT off the top of your head. I'm on the coast, I'm going to talk SAT off the top of my head. Colleges don't care which one.
Right.
They really don't. They are subtly different. Don't drown in all of that. But I agree, there are lots of, University of Chicago has been test optional for almost ever. Highly selective school for those of you who don't know that school.
One of the most selective colleges in Maine, Bowdoin, has been test optional for 40 years.
Yeah. They're taking their time and really looking a little bit more deeply into who they want to craft into their class. But if you can imagine having hundreds of thousands of applications thrown at you, that first door barrier kind of needs to say, how are we just making this stack shorter?
Yeah.
So I love that we differ in opinion because I think that that's life. And I think we need to talk about those things. And I think that's why having a guide like Chuck, you're not going to chuck it up if you're talking to Chuck. And for those of you who are just looking for a little bit of extra help and guidance, College Sharks is free for the first 14 days. Just there's no credit card. Go to collegesharks.com, take our workbook, download it. It'll become your application. And, look at the September and October content that's live. If it's for you, great. If it's not, you got a workbook out of it. But I think seeking to find good resources, not the parents on the sidelines, is going to do you and your student the best favor that you can for yourself, because we want you in and out in 4 years.
Yeah.
And proud of your alma mater.
Best possible. Yep.
And, rock on. That's what we hope as counselors for everyone. And I think that's why we visit hundreds of schools a year.
Maybe not hundreds a
really
year,
fun.
but a lot. I mean, I visit dozens of schools a year. I don't know about hundreds of schools a year, but
I think I just hit my 300th college. So, and that's been over years. So I exaggerated a little bit.
All right. Wanted to take a moment to show everyone who's watching this on YouTube the collegesharks.com website. You can see
Thank you.
Lee in her very animated promo video on the front page. But yeah, this is a great resource for students and families that don't have the capability of hiring someone like Lee or myself for the full experience, and they really need help. Both Lee and I are trying to create things to help students and families get through this process easier, faster, and much more educated and much more knowledgeable. So that's why I have the Don't Chuck It Up podcast and YouTube type stuff. Lee has decided to create a whole platform of collegesharks.com. So do check that out. She has created a really amazing resource to help students and families. And as she said, you can try it out for a couple of weeks without a credit card, and that will give you a sense of what it is. And come on, you get to see Lee's amazing face in the videos and everything. So it's always great fun. So check out collegesharks.com. Lee, thank you very much for being here. I wanted to give you just a couple minutes for any type of soapbox. I always give all of my guests an opportunity to have a small soapbox moment. What is something that you wish every listener, parent, student, whoever the heck, other counselors who are listening to this podcast and to the YouTube or watching it on YouTube, what do you want to share with them? What's the message from Lee?
So the message from Lee is I'm in 2.0, right? This is the second half of my life. And to me, it's just the sprinkles on the sundae. I really think that there's a different path for everybody. And I encourage you that if you're not ready for college at 17 or to know what you want to do with the rest of your life, that's okay. Just make sure whatever pause you take has a purpose behind it. I'm, again, a proud military mom. I can't be more proud of my son. Can't be more proud of my daughter who went the complete opposite direction. But seek first to understand. Don't let other people put out your fire. You know, my give a shitter's off. I'm over 55. So I wish everybody, and I wish I'd had this opinion before. So that's my soapbox. Live for yourself. Live the best life you can. Be kind to everybody. And guess what? Check your email if you're under 17. Please check your email.
Oh, Lee Norwood, wonderful to have you on the Don't Chuck It Up podcast. Thank you for being here. I totally appreciate you and all that you are doing out there in the world. Thank you for making the world a little bit better place.
Thanks, and thanks for holding together the center of our country. I'm over here from the coast, and good to see you guys.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today, but fear not, we will be back next week with more tips and tricks to help you conquer the college application process like a boss. Till then, remember, don't chuck it up.